Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to hopefully make some or a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today. We have crypto majors down touch, along with Hype being down 7%, back to $32. Monad down 11%, back to ICO price. Things yo-yoing around a little bit at the moment. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Blackrock CEO sharing that sovereign wealth funds are buying Bitcoin. That will make Funky happy, I'm sure. Lighter announces spot trading to go live later this week. Brad will touch on that a little bit, and we'll reflect on some of the numbers that these perp dexes are doing. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs as usual, plus a general discussion on the market. So stay tuned for that. Today, I've got Brad in the co-host seat with me. We are ready to get into it. Just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is incredibly risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution as always and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Brad, it's Friday. It's the 5th of December. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
You say we don't know anything for sure, but I will say one thing I know for sure. One, that I had a lovely breakfast with you this morning. That was nice.
That was a good
two,
thing.
yeah. Two, I'm leaving this place. I'm headed home from Dubai tonight. My flight is at 2 a.m., which is a fun start time for any flight. And I have a 26-hour journey back home. So back to normalcy. You guys will see me with my normal mic, my setup, my little bread man in the background. That day's coming, and then regularly scheduled programming from there.
Is the 26-hour journey? That's are you stopping over multiple places? How many times are you having to stop over for that journey, or do you really live that far away from the rest of the world?
Yeah, we have a 8-hour flight from here to Amsterdam, and then I have an 11-hour flight from Amsterdam to Salt Lake City in Utah, middle of America, and then I have a 2-hour flight just to take me home.
To connect. Okay, so something's wrong. Either the destination that you're in is wrong for not being able to get to where you live, or where you live is wrong because it's too far. There's too many connections. It's not actually the distance. It's the fact that you have to do that many connections. I think there should be a one connection cap. Don't you think? Are you in favor of this rule, Brad?
Yeah, we optimize for that. But like I actually, back in my consulting life, I used to actually take deliberate hops because you get more mileage if you take the segments. Because it was either you do the miles or you do segments. And right, so this would be 3 segments for a flight. And I used to game that so that I could get the highest tier of the reward system for the airline. So
This is
over that time,
your airdrop
I actually
performance strategy.
got really good at yeah. I did it. I was a farmer. I optimized the strategy, and I got really good in solitude.
That's crazy. Brett, I think your connection's being a little bit difficult. We got most of the message there, which is that were a classic airdrop farmer before it even existed. So that's pretty ridiculous and hilarious. Okay, so there's that. As you said, we had a nice breakfast this morning. That was pretty good. How much have you got a chance to see to Dubai? I don't know if you saw maybe last week or the week before. I thought it was a telltale sign of the market where everyone wanted to give their opinion on Dubai. Everyone wanted to give their opinion on Dubai. Some people viscerally hate it. Some people entirely love it. Have you managed to come to your conclusion? Do you have a viral tweet prepared for your thoughts on Dubai? I know you have your city tier lists, but what's your stance on the Dubai viral tweets, which always go viral, and then how have you experienced the city?
I mean, admitted, I didn't see the actual conversation. All L1. It was 100% L1 valuations, L1 revenue, Hasib versus Santi. But my opinion on Dubai is mostly that I have not seen Dubai despite being.
You haven't seen it. Okay, I think you're cutting out a reasonable amount at the moment, Brad. Maybe the internet just needs to settle. So hopefully we'll give it a chance to do that now as we get into the main stuff for today. We've got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking majors. We're going to talk about some price action um, with some of these coins pulling back after everyone thinking that we were so back as usual. We'll talk BlackRock CEO sharing that sovereign wealth funds are buying Bitcoin, and we'll talk Lighter announcing spot trading to go live later this week too. So, but let's get you up to speed first with all the usual information, starting with the price action. Let's go to Bitcoin first. We are down 1% or so, down to 91.3K. We've got ETH down almost a couple of percent as well to 3.1. XRP is down 3% as well to $2. BNB is down a couple of percent to $893. USDC is flat. I'm literally just reading this off. Of course, USDC is flat. Thank God it is flat. Solana is down 4% to $136. And Hyperliquid, as we noted, is down almost 8% to $32. Sui, which we touch on every now and again, seems to have underperformed the other stuff for some time, is down 3% back to $1.60. So that actually up 4% on the week. So doing better than some of the other coins at the moment. On the meme coin side of things, we have Doge down 3% to 14 cents. Pepe's down 4%. Pump's down 6%. Pengu's down 5%. Again, SPX is down 5%. So generally a red day on the meme coin side of things. Getting into the headlines themselves, we've already said what we're going to talk about, talking about the majors. Hyper Monad pulling back. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink suggesting that sovereign wealth funds are buying Bitcoin, and Lighter announcing spot trading. We'll discuss some of those numbers on the perp dexes today. And in terms of some notable sales, CryptoPunk floor is around 95K. I wouldn't say there's a huge amount to report on the NFT side. Infinex patrons are up 6%. They are doing buybacks of the NFT with the volume that they are earning from their perps offering, which is obviously connected into Hyperliquid, so that they are doing buybacks to the NFT at the moment. So that's something to note. And getting into the rest of the roundup to get you up to speed, we've got a few other interesting things going on. We've got the CFTC announcing spot Bitcoin and crypto can be traded on CFTC registered exchanges. Got Haiku announcing a $1 million pre-seed to unify DeFi execution. MetaMask integrating Polymarket prediction market into their mobile wallet. Seems like Polymarket and Kalshi going back and forth every other day with these partnership announcements. We had Kalshi announcing CNN just yesterday, right? So that was pretty big. Base enables Solana bridge for direct asset transfer between two chains. Volantis points live on Hyperliquid for early participants. Superform announced community sale to purchase up and own the neobank. I think that's going via Legion as well. Asta announces S3 token buybacks and burn is now complete. Myriad Markets announced liquidity pools where users can provide liquidity and share in upside. That I find pretty interesting because I heard, these liquidity pools for prediction markets, I think they're kind of hard to do. I don't know that they're always profitable. So I'm very intrigued to figure out how that works. And finally, crypto casino Yeet crosses $1 billion in total volume. So that is the roundup. Before we get into the main stuff, I'm going to ask Brad in a second what is catching his attention around the space. Also, because Brad is having some issues, I'm just going to invite Funky up to the stage to co-host as well. So maybe we can get some of his contributions at the same time. But Brad, before we get there, what's catching your attention?
We switched over. Now we're on 5G, and I'm seeing a strong 4 megabytes. How do I sound?
Sounds crisp. Sounds very, very crisp.
Amazing. Amazing. So, okay, so you were calling out some things there that were interesting to me. One being the Infinix buyback. So I was looking at that. And I was curious to see just how much they had generated. So for the people in the crowd who don't understand what this actually means, Infinix has not launched a perps protocol. They are using the builder codes from Hyperliquid. So just like Based app, just like a few of these other PvP trade, they actually use perps. Phantom is another big one from Hyperliquid, and then just generate fees on top of that, basically just skimming a little bit on what the actual positions are. And I'm seeing Infinix at number 7 out of all the builders. They've generated roughly $1 million, and it's like usually between 50 and 70 grand a day in fees. So that must be what they're using to actually do the buyback on those patrons. It's not a compelling amount for me to like want to try to like front run that for more Infinix buys or patron buys, but it is interesting to me. And then just because you called it out, I'm a little bit of a nerd. And I like these infrastructure fights, the base Solana integration. I don't know if you've seen the pettiness on the timeline
I did, but why don't you summarize it for people?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll talk about what it is. The first thing that what it is just Base has built a native bridge between Solana and Base, so that you can actually trade the assets on each chain from either chain and have just a native way to go directly to it instead of having to go say from Base to Ethereum, Ethereum to whatever. So you have wrapped versions of all these assets. You can get just straight up bridging between the two. And Base did it, Base celebrated it, and they partnered and promoted it and did all these things. And Solana got a little perturbed, we'll say, where they're like, you went and launched this thing, you didn't coordinate with anyone from the Solana ecosystem, you're just trying to vampire attack us, you're trying to act like this is a kumbaya moment, but it's actually you trying to steal liquidity from us and steal our thing. So it was just turned into this big petty little fight about who's trying to do what. To which I say, bro, we're all fighting. Like everyone does this, and I think this is what has like bothered a lot of the Ethereum ecosystem people, because everyone from the outside goes, yeah, bro, Arbitrum is fighting Base. Base is fighting Optimism, even if they're in the same super chain. Both of them are fighting Ethereum to a little bit, and all of them together are fighting Solana as well as each other. So for like them to like try to do this veneer of like, oh, it's kumbaya, we're just helping each other out, bro, and the other one to interpret it as like, no, you're actually trying to steal like our users, our liquidity, all our assets, or whatever. I think that's like the default position, should be the default position for basically all of these chains, and I think it's just funny to see it playing out.
So your position, I agree, based on the way that you've just explained that, I would agree with you that realistically, of course, it's going to be an attempt to take it to vamp the liquidity, and maybe it's a little bit. Maybe this is in general. Like, to be honest, this is maybe my general read of the Base ecosystem sometimes, where it's just a little bit condescending to people's intelligence to try to bother to make it seem like anything other than what it is. I think that's happened 2 times now. One, this is maybe a specific example. To be fair, I didn't read the official comms. But if you're saying that, they tried to play it off as if it is some, peaceful move or like some type of partnership, it's clearly not. And then I've always thought that from the creator coin perspective as well, where I think they really talk down to creators actually, who are often, myself included, along with other prominent people, creators, I think, who opt out of the creator coin narrative, whether it's on Pump Fun or whether it's on Base. There's like a real reluctance, and just kind of suggesting that we haven't really thought about it. Oh, we've never tried it. How can you have an opinion on it? It's like, guys, we've been around the space for quite a bit of time now. Like, you can't. I know it's the thing that you're trying to push, but again, in that similar vein, I've found it condescending. I think they're doing a good job in all kinds of other ways. I personally think that's one way that the communication should stop being made in the way that it is. Any additional thoughts there, Brad?
No, I think that's probably the best psychological interpretation of our positioning interpretation for what they do. Because like, yeah, it's been this way for everything. Where it's like, we're growing the on-chain economy, everything's good. Like, bro, like we're just like it's like no, you're clearly fighting. You're clearly like it's a and maybe, and you know what, like the benefit of the doubt, maybe they do genuinely interpret it that way, but like they're very literally taking liquidity and assets and users and going after people. So while I guess maybe both could be true to a degree, like
Sure.
their intentions versus what's actually happening, I think it is obtuse to try to act like both don't exist. Like,
Yeah, I
why would
mean,
you be offended by this, bro? Oh man, like, well, no, whatever. Like, no, come on. Yeah, sure. Maybe you think you're doing good thing, but like, acknowledge the fact that you are actually very literally taking things from us.
yeah. To be fair, I mean, there is a world in which it's quite. It is good to be graceful, potentially, like to take other people's liquidity with grace, potentially, if there's a way to do that. But I mean, I can see this. I can see why it's like, look, let's be polite. I wouldn't necessarily always advocate being like, the official comms are never going to be like, we're gonna steal, or like, you're never going to talk in that way either. But
It's the lack of acknowledgement. That's the thing that's plagued the entire L2 ecosystem because everyone on the outside goes like, yeah, like, oh, yeah, 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 you are all absolutely competing with each other.
yeah,
Arbitrum and Base even throw jabs at each other because, like, yeah, because they're both competing. They literally are competing. But then everyone does oh my, no, bro, no, we're all Ethereum, we're all whatever, we're all growing the on-chain economy. Acknowledge it exists. Like you can do it gracefully. You can go from there. But like the fact that like trying to ignore the reality it probably rubs people the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way for sure.
yeah. I think the interesting point you made there is like, look, this is not just a base or Ethereum ecosystem thing versus Solana, which is like a separate ecosystem, even internally within the ETH L2 ecosystem. There's, what you're saying is we're all in competition with each other. We have to be. I know we're kind of, well, maybe we're not really serving the EVM in any bigger way. Like in order to be profitable, in order to survive, in order to keep going, like you need to win the people here and now. And sometimes that might mean taking it from others. Because now this is just legit, once the L2 dream was very, very significant. Now there's some dead, like we've had enough time now. There's some just completely dead on the water L2s, right? Just completely defunct, not seeing usage, haven't found the right product market fit. So interesting angle to take there. I've got one thing to note, but I just wanted to go to Funky first because he's up with us on stage today on the Twitter Spaces. Funky, welcome to the stage, man. Is there anything catching your attention in the market before we get into the main stuff today? I know you're going to want to chime in on big Larry Fink talking Bitcoin. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but before we get there, what's on your mind, man?
Well, first and foremost, I love that you said that the markets are down a touch because normally you guys love dumping. So I was going to give you some kudos. Um, Beyond that, no, I'm just really looking forward to the weekend. I personally still I'm going to be the last bull standing. I feel like a lot of macro conditions are lining up. I know we're going to talk specifically about Larry Fink, but just when you think about where this is all going, we already saw some liquidity flowing into banks. I really think that this is going to enter into a risk on environment as we get into Q1. Do I expect some kind of massive Santa Claus rally? No, I'm perfectly fine with Chop. I think Legendary said the other day he wouldn't be surprised if it was 100K or 80K at Christmas or New Year's. So, I just think that there's going to be a lot of exciting things happening in the new year, right? We have Mega ETH about to go with the mainnet beta. There's just a lot of things that are happening and nothing in particular that I'm really looking at, but just excited that you guys said it was down a touch. Good use of today.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for some words to indicate the amount that we were down. It's clearly not a disaster, but also not flat either. So I was trying to find the right words. But we're going to come back to you, Funky, on the Bitcoin stuff and to get some of that bullish sentiment a little bit later in the show. The one thing I just wanted to shout out our partners at Yeet. Crypto Casino Yeet has crossed $1 billion in total volume today. So congrats to our partners at Yeet. Today's show, it is Friday. So today we are sponsored by Yeet. It's the crypto casino that's done now more than $1 billion, probably one of the fastest casinos to get to that number in a bit more than 6 months, founded by trusted names like Mando, KBM, and pro poker player Ben Lam. We're going to be giving away our usual $500 this week at the end of the show, giving away randomly to players active under the Modern Market affiliate link. We will share that in the comments a little bit later as we get to it a little bit later. So do check Yeet out. They have a number of crypto-themed games and their sportsbook just launched. So stay tuned for the giveaway at the end of the show, $500 to someone who has been participating there. So we'll get to that at the end of today's show. Getting into the first headline then, before we get to the giveaways today, just talking general price action here. So Funky kind of alluded to it, and actually it's interesting that he brought it up in the way that he brought it up, because, you know, I honestly didn't think that there was that much to write home about. Like Bitcoin's down a couple of percent, ETH's down a couple of percent, XRP's down a few percent, BNB's down a couple of percent. We spoke about it on the show yesterday. We've got no real conviction, I don't think, in what direction it goes in the short time frame. And we also noted that everyone's analysis of these things have gone in have shortened increasingly as well. So I think the time frame that everyone's using has got shorter and shorter. And I think it's important to be aware of that. Like, we've become conscious that everything's got a bit shorter, which, to be honest, has made me more comfortable being a little bit out of the market for now, as people are kind of getting a bit erratic, I think. It was funny in the chat just yesterday, someone shared that their long got liquidated, whilst simultaneously my short got liquidated. We talked about the Fartcoin data point, where I think people are getting liquidated both sides within 24 hours. And I think a lot of some of this activity is just people taking aggressive perp positions. Shout out to MLM on Chain's great Twitter account and Telegram channel. This was one tweet that he did not put out, but he shared it in the Telegram. He just said this. I'm just going to share the information without sharing the screen. This was from earlier today, I believe. Said this wallet shorted 375K of hype, $12.1 million over the past 30 minutes, almost the same amount as it's holding in spot. And you can see all of those positions being opened up, driving the price down because of the size. So it's, you know, I think there's a lot of leverage, or it might not be as much leverage as before, but still there's a lot of leverage taking.
Was that in dollars?
$375,000 of hype, which is $12.1 million over the past 30 minutes. That was a few hours ago.
That's a lot more. Okay, so I was hearing 370 like dollars in hype, and I was like, well, that's not a lot, but 12 million is a little bit more in 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite significant. It also makes you realize that there's still humongous hyperliquid players, and so this wallet is holding a similar amount in spot, actually 200K of which is staked. And when, you know, individuals decide to take humongous positions out, it really has meaningful impact on the price. Like hype's down 7%, not all because of this move, but maybe half of the move can be attributed to that. So that's interesting to note. So hype is down 7%, and Monad also, I just wanted to call out today, being down around 10%, back again towards its ICO price, 2.6 bill FTV. Brad, coming to you here, and maybe we'll go to Funky on this one as well. My general position with this type of price action on the majors and the fairly erratic price action on all the other tokens is just to get out of the way of the market. I remember talking about this a while ago, talking about how I thought when Jeff and CZ are going to go into battle, one of the things that I felt like doing was just get out of the way. I don't know what collateral damage takes place when the biggest centralized exchange is, you know, propping up Asta in some way, and they're going after Hyperliquid in some way and trying to break it. And we've all been very, very bullish, hyperliquid for a long time, but I did feel back then, you just want to get out of the way of this fight. Like, why do you need to stand in the middle of it? Why do you need to take a side right here, right now? You can have the person that you want to win, but when you're trying to be in a bit of capital preservation mode, just get out of the way of the fight. And I almost feel like that now, even in terms of taking medium-term positions in assets, it's just too unclear for me. But curious for your thoughts, Brad. Then would love to hear from Funky.
Yeah, I may actually push it to Funky towards the end of this because I think he'll know the technical terms here. But you're right, it does feel to me like something like we had a lot of volatility. The volatility still exists. Maybe it's dampening a little bit to both directions. But if you guys are familiar with doing your astrological signs on charts, right? There's the typical pattern where you have a triangle, it tightens inside the triangle, and then as it gets very tight, then you expect a dramatic move either to the upside or the downside. I feel like we are still just oscillating within this triangle, and it's getting tighter, but it is still not tight. So like it's dangerous to try to do too much. And then until you have that big move at the end to kind of tell us where we're going to go, whether it's a bullish thing, like we're back, that the bull is back, or the bear is on. I am not someone who's particularly excited to play right now. Although I have the luxury of a bunch of work that is distracting me from actually trading, and reduced funds in my perps trading accounts from previous attempts to trade it. So it's just outside looking in. That's how it feels, but I don't have a lot of material data to back that up.
The one thing I would say about trading in general, which, bear in mind, I always try to give people the context of this. I guess in the end, I've kind of got good at it over the last 4 years. Although my best time frame is probably like these medium term ones where you take an asset from undervalued to appropriately valued. I'm not super interested in like betting on an asset getting hyper speculated on and going way higher. If you do, then that's great. But I think the nice option is to take an undervalued asset to appropriate value or beyond, and then kind of let it go. But one of the key learnings I think I'm taking away now is and it will sound obvious, but no one will do it because you've got to put in the work. You've got to journal this stuff. All of the best traders that I've been listening to or following along with or trying to read their writings on this stuff, to really get into the thesis of like why you're taking on a trade, where you think it's going to go. I think the reason why it's so important to say where you think it's going to go versus how low you think it's going to go is because then you start to think more accurately about risk reward. Like if you think you want to buy hyperliquid at 30 because you think it's going to go to 60 and you think the downside is to 15, it's like, okay, it could 2x or it could half if it was at 30. And then you can decide if that's good enough. Bitcoin at 120 and you think it can go to 150, but it could go down to 80. That appreciation is not as interesting. Whereas when Bitcoin's at 80, where do you think it can go? Maybe it's far more attractive at this point versus its relative downside. So I think writing those things down makes it far clearer to you what potential upside you have versus the potential downside. That's one thing I'm thinking about doing a lot more, or at least some of the questions that I'm running through as I prepare this stuff. But curious to go to you, Funky, here for maybe a general thought on the price action, some of these tokens not achieving any kind of liftoff at the moment. What's your perspective?
Well, the first thing I would start off with, and I dropped this comment in the comments below and on the Twitter space. I've been a big follower of, and what I'm about to say is not financial advice, of course, right? But I've been following AKA Zero Hedge for a number of years. And this year I finally ponied up and got his trading alpha system.
Okay.
The reason I'm fairly confident that the bottom is in, as we all like to say, is his system takes a bunch of indicators in and just really kind of abstracts away a lot of the messiness, so you don't have to paint lines and look at, oh, it's this kind of triangle or a bull flag or what have you. And it just, in a simple snapshot, has red dots, green dots. Green dots is buying, you follow the trend. Red dots is when it's below the track line, you just want to get out. And just recently on the daily, it went from, it's what's called a stage 4 downtrend. So BTC's been bleeding since the all-time high back in October, which we've all seen. We got a confirmed bottom when it hit like 84 the other day. And then we got our first green dot, which shows like buying strength and momentum coming in. Now, granted, this is only on a daily chart. It's still below the track line on the weekly, still like riding the line on the monthly. So to your point, we don't know exactly which way this is going to go long term, but it seems as if there's an opportunity for bulls to move it back above the track line and keep things going up and to the right. Again, I don't expect any kind of explosive move, especially until we get into the new year, because just, people are going to be taking profits, kind of harvesting tax loss, doing everything they can to close out 2025. So I still expect chop right now. Having said that, I'm not one to really move in and out of the market. And I think part of the reason I do this is being a US citizen, it's ridiculous and Brett can attest to this. Like every little move you make is a taxable event in the US. It really, really sucks.
Sure.
So I'm of the mind that it's better to just sit in positions and, take profits occasionally when the time comes. Like what I'm doing right now on Project X is I'm bullish hype, right? And I really don't care too much about the price. So I have a fairly wide range, like 25% up or down on paired with ETH, BTC, and Solana. And those, like, they just earn fees. And I'm just collecting those fees and then I'm compounding them by lending those assets out. So I just usually prefer to do more of a DeFi approach and just let these things mature over time. I don't think in any way, shape, or form, despite what English believes, that we're headed to 60K or anything like that. And we're going to talk about BlackRock. Larry Fink and the rest of the world does not want to see 60K Bitcoin. They just don't. If sovereign wealth funds are buying and these big boys are paying attention, you want prices going up, not down, to instill more FOMO, because you're trying to convince the rest of the TradFi world that, at least in the case of Bitcoin, this is not talking about anything else outside of Bitcoin, that this is a pristine asset that is worth holding and part of your portfolio. I mean, after all this massive dump, we had every single big bank, whether, Vanguard, then all of a sudden Charles Schwab, Bank of America saying 4% of your portfolio should be Bitcoin. So I just don't see how, with all these macro tailwinds coming, whether it's Hazit, of course, Besant's now about to become the main economic advisor. I read a really good thread saying that we haven't had this kind of alignment between Treasury and the Fed since World War II. Yeah. And that's going to release an unprecedented wave of economic stimulus to try and keep the economy going, especially into midterms, because he needs to try and retain whatever he can in both the House, which is going to be very tricky, and especially important in the Senate. So there's no changing the bullishness, whether it's related to my total T or not.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I think the rate cuts will certainly continue now is, I don't know if you saw the jobs data come out just the other day, but there's more there's just so many cuts continuing, even if earnings are doing great at the company. So it definitely feels like the economy is going to be struggling, and of course they need to weigh that with inflation and things like that. But I think they're going to start to increasingly lean on the side of dealing with the struggling economy, which should be benefited by some cuts. Or at least that would be the thinking. So I'm on board with that. Maybe we'll think more on the Bitcoin side in a second, because we're going to talk what Larry Fink was saying at the New York Times Dealbook Summit in just a moment. One final reflection here. Maybe I'll come to Brad first, and I'll ask Funky as well. Something like Monad. Monad's launched ICO at 2.5 bill, ran up very, very aggressively and quickly to, I think, something in the region like 4.5 bill, dropped all the way back down, then pumped back up. Now kind of hovering back where we were at around, where are we? Are we basically more or less total supply, fully diluted valuation?
Got it priced in Bitcoin, doing it hard mode here.
Yeah, I think, Max, if we can get just denominated in dollars up on the screen, that chart would be the better one. But I also have it here. So yeah, I mean, we're more or less at 2.6 bill FTV. back to where we started in a way. Do you have a view which direction this can go from here, Brad? Like, what does it take for an ecosystem when you've launched in this way? I suspect the people who've wanted to sell have probably sold now. That would be my instinct. But it doesn't necessarily mean, it's the classic thing of, okay, fine, you have sell pressure to deal with, then you've got to generate some demand as well. And I'm not sure that as things stand, that there's a compelling reason to buy the token. What do you have a thought there?
Yeah, I mean, the difficult part of all these ecosystems is that, yeah, like it just takes a long time. It takes time, right? Like you like to get things in there. They had their shot right with day zero, and everyone goes, okay, what's here? And no one found a compelling reason to say like this is the signature thing that says like this is why this thing should exist. And that's what a lot of the FUD they've been catching. It's like, yes, it's a lot of uni forks, it's a morpho fork, it's a whatever. So it's a lot of the same stuff, just with a different purple hue to it, which is fine. And I do believe that things will come in the future that Monad will be able to facilitate that. It's just like maybe an enhanced experience to say a base or an Ethereum of the world. But they don't have that now, and therefore like there's no compelling reason for someone to come along and buy that hasn't already purchased, right? Because they basically included everyone. They filled up 200 and however many $280 million in that ICO just before going live. They had obviously plenty of VC investments before that. So then your next question is like, with 400 some odd million dollars raised, who is the next marginal buyer? And without the ecosystem popping off, without a novel app that is like the selling point, it just is a tough story to sell. So yeah, I'm personally wouldn't be a buyer here. I'm still holding on to my airdrop. I haven't touched it. Like I'm comfortable holding on to it because I do think Monad will do long term, do well long term, and I'm fine with just sitting on my bag until yeah, it does okay.
Okay, interesting. One thing I'd note, talking about marginal buyers, Tom Lee's Bitmine, I think it was yesterday, we reported in the snapshot, bought a ton of ETH again. They do still have capital to buy, but it feels like it's just them pushing the price up whenever it goes up. So on a day so yesterday, ETH outperformed Bitcoin by a couple of percent. I think Bitcoin was up 1% and ETH was up 3%. And, I can't remember the exact timing of when Bitmine bought, but I think it was reported yesterday that on Wednesday they bought. So it's kind of like the marginal buyer that you speak of when you're trying to identify them, figure them out. It's just Bitmine. it's Bitmine on ETH, and then ETH pulls the price up of all the other coins, right? So it's just definitely something to keep in mind, like figuring out how much Tom Lee's got left. I think we looked at it the other day. They still have cash on hand to deploy, I guess, when they think is reasonable. And so yeah, that's that. Look,
Do you think we're going to look back at it obviously and say like this entire window was a dat fueled pre-rally, and then like we just overdid it? And I mean, I think we can all kind of look at that now and say like, yeah, it kind of feels like as soon as the dat bubble burst, a lot of this stuff started deflating. I don't think like I'm with Funky. I still think a lot of the macro wins. You guys didn't mention like the AI race for HEI, but like that amount of capital being deployed back into the ecosystem continuously just for like the one shot at taking over the universe is going to continue to happen. I think that's something else that is macro tailwinds for us. Yeah, I still believe we're in good position to continue to trend up. But yeah,
I mean, I do think well, I don't believe, this is what I think in general, this is less about DATs and more just about human stupidity. I don't believe human stupidity will be rewarded in the long term. And so whilst maybe some DAT structures maybe are okay, maybe, I'm emphasizing maybe, I think a number of them are or were designed in a way to just be complete cash grabs, and therefore are just dumb from the outset. And I think that does, in general, in the world, get punished in the medium to long term. And again, it's not a specific comment on, well, I guess it is a specific comment on DATs because I'm putting it into that category of specific human stupidity, especially as it kind of proliferates down the ecosystem. I have not been sold on the vision for them. But I think it's going to need to pop somewhere, whether it's a humongous pop, whether it's a complete deflation, whether it's a gentle turning over, whether a bigger DAT buys out the other people's DATs at a markdown, which might actually be a cool solution to the problem. You know, if one DAT is really struggling, why not sell to someone else and figure it out like that? I don't know 100%, but I think it'll be.
I don't know if that's a solution, because like the outcome in that one is like a Bitcoin DAT either buys like they're not gonna like maybe it is a Bitcoin DAT buys a Bitcoin DAT and then just like takes on the tokens, but the more likely outcome is a Bitcoin DAT buys an Ethereum DAT and nukes all of the Ethereum to then purchase Bitcoin. So like you start getting the
Oh, you think it's like
PvP
a cross?
amongst yeah, like if I'm Michael Saylor, I'm buying the Say DAT because it's on trading, 20% under NAV, and then I sell the 20% premium and I use that to buy Bitcoin. And
Dude,
then
I didn't even think of that.
yeah, it's a cross DAT PvP. It's not just like a consolidate the Bitcoin situation.
That's actually an awesome idea to get free money.
Yeah, if you can buy it in size, because the DAT people that I mean, this is we've talked about this in the past, but yeah, like the DAT people, they're buying their stock because they have an obligation to their shareholders. So you say, hey, if Michael Saylor comes across and says, hey, we'll buy the entire thing out, give the money to your stockholders, things are good, just give me your assets. He then just completely nukes the assets, but he gets it at a little bit of or he can sell or capture the premium, say it's 10%, say it's 20%, say it's in some crazy instances upwards of 30%. Then that's all free money. That's cash that he now can leverage to buy Bitcoin.
Interesting. I don't know. Need to run that through. I don't know if that would be entirely feasible, but I hadn't even considered that option. I thought, okay, maybe strategy can buy some underpriced DATs that are struggling and, accumulate more Bitcoin in a more cost efficient way. Okay, that's an interesting angle to consider. I hadn't really thought about that. I'll have to think about that more. Talking about Bitcoin, the second headline for today is that BlackRock's Larry Fink says sovereign wealth funds are buying Bitcoin. He said, I know they bought more in the 80s. He actually made reference to some funds potentially buying more in the 110s, 100s, 90s, and saying that they bought more in the 80s now. So this took place at the New York Dealbook Summit. And I think, one of the reasons you have to be aware that this is happening is it was reported not long ago, I think it was last week, that the IBIT ETF, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF offering, is the most profitable product for them. So I do think that there is some value in just watching the incentives at play, being aware of the incentives at play, and just being aware who the powerful people are who can move the most capital. And I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't know where we go immediately. I think we could potentially even go lower, but I do think in the medium to long term, we're at far more attractive prices here, obviously, than when we were higher. And knowing that this is such a lucrative product for them, I can think you can be assured that they will keep talking about it. And to the extent that what you talk about, because you're creating attention, people's buying decisions are influenced by that or follow that. You want to have attention around your assets always, sometimes to the good, sometimes to the bad. I think you will be guaranteed that BlackRock will be talking about this for quite some time because of how profitable it is. So that's my thought there. Brad, do you have a thought there? What do you think of my idea? Then definitely want to hear from Bitcoin Bull Funky.
I can't help but look at this, and I know I was teasing, or not teasing, but just like the L1 debate has stuck out in my head the last few days because I was all over my timeline, and it's just I see this and I go, the Bitcoin is a special snowflake thing, right? Like it's the special snowflake. It doesn't need revenues. It doesn't need to have activity. It doesn't need anything. It's just like it has captured the zeitgeist of the narrative that it is the gold equivalent, even though it doesn't always behave like that. But at least like it's writing it enough that people are acquiring it at the level of sovereigns. And I know like Ethereum is still in that bucket, but everyone in the Ethereum camp hates me whenever I go down that path and say that Ethereum needs to make money, but Bitcoin in the interim is a special snowflake. I think I still, Funky won't like it, but I still think it long term, we'll say 8 to 10 years from now, it's going to be a problem for the security budget. But until then, like it's the thing to buy. because it's just the narrative is just too strong. And it's a multi-year, potentially decade-long, multi-decade. If you cover the entire length of the existence narrative, that I'm just not going to fight anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I know you brought up that point a number of times. I'm fairly, uh, I'm fairly persuaded by it as well. I don't think the world is ready to. The world is only just grasping the positive, the properties of Bitcoin now, and that's what it's ready to accept now. And then I think in some period of time, they'll be ready to deal with some of the other aspects. Which might just take some time. Funky, coming to you here. We said we'd come back to you for your take on Larry Fink's commentary here on sovereign wealth funds accumulating Bitcoin. What's your outlook? What's your perspective? Curious for your thoughts.
I just want to start off and say that I completely concur with you, Brad, and you, B, in terms of the security budget is a problem, right? But that's a future problem. It's something that I don't worry about right now. It's something that's 5+ years away. And knowing that they're already working on solutions for quantum proofing Bitcoin and everything else, I'm sure our AI overlords will figure this all out when they take over, right? Because as Michael Saylor likes to say, they're going to want Bitcoin because everything is moving into a digital world. If it is the digital gold, then it's easy for them to transact in it. And they solve that problem, then, and I'm still of the mind that if, to the point of Larry Fink, if sovereign wealth funds are accumulating Bitcoin, and this is something that Brett and I had a funny conversation with Austin Federa back on Easter Sunday. I still think that nation states are going to step in. And if the world becomes, whether it's nuclear or solar energy or what have you, some form of cheap energy that could keep the network running, I think that they would step in and just sort of subsidize the hash power that the network requires. Again, this is just my 2 cents, right? I'm not saying necessarily get there, but I think this is all why and maybe it's partly my age because I'm 50 and I always see things on a long-term time horizon, right? So for me, it's about playing the long game, and this is why I still think yes, it is Main Street struggling for sure. Are there cracks in the economy that Oxy has brought up that are very valid? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, as much as America likes to say they care about Main Street, they don't. It's Wall Street. It's all about Wall Street. And they will find a way to continue to prop up asset prices until something breaks. And I feel like with Bissent becoming the top economic advisor, as well as Hazlitt stepping in as the Fed chair, they're going to try and quote unquote inflate the problem away. So I really see that happening this year, especially in the first half of the year. If he makes good on these, what did he call them, tariff dividend payments to those lower income earners, that's going to put cash in hand in people's pockets before they go to the polls. I just don't see how that gets interrupted unless there's some kind of cataclysmic black swan event. I just feel like we're going to keep climbing that wall of worry for the rest of 2026. Maybe something breaks after that. I don't know. We never know. But I'm just, for the long term, especially for the next 5 years plus, I'm not worried, and I will continue to just stack sats.
Okay. That's the Bitcoin bull perspective. Thanks, Funky. Again, I do think if you're interested in Hassett's background, you should take a look. I believe I mentioned this on the show the other day, paid advisor by Coinbase, very much crypto pilled, I would say. On board with the whole kind of crypto movement and very much invested financially in its success, I think, as well. So I think that's always relevant to note, important to check in on those aspects. Okay, so that's what we've got there. We've got one final headline now. We'll go to Brad to get just some quick thoughts on Lighter announcing some spot trading going live soon, maybe some numbers around these perp dexes. It's been one of the big winners this season. Do we think that's going to continue? Should we be farming these things? Should we be using these things? It feels like a lot of risk to take. So curious for Brad's thoughts there. And then, of course, we'll get to our Yeet giveaway at the end of today's show. We've got $500 to give away, as always, on a Friday to the participants who are active under the Modern Market affiliate link, which I've put in the comments on Twitter Spaces if you would like to participate. So $500 to give away in just a little bit after the final headline, which I think Brett is going to deliver if his internet comes back and he returns. But if he doesn't, then I guess I'm going to deliver the segment, which I think I'll have to do now because he is cut out. So basically the final headline, the reason why I put this in is that Lighter yesterday announced that they are excited to introduce spot trading on Lighter. They said you can now deposit, withdraw, and transfer ETH, the first native asset on our Ethereum L2. And they said later this week, we will enable spot trading and begin rolling out additional markets. So just for a bit of context, remember Lighter raised at around, I think it was 1.5 billion FTV. They've got investment from Founders Fund and Robinhood as well. I think Robinhood were involved in the raise. If they weren't involved in the raise, they were very much kind of connected to Lighter and invested in it. So I think that's super relevant. People are pushing this Lighter realistically as probably the most competitive with Hyperliquid as things stand. Brad, you're back with us. I've set us up. I wonder if you're able to provide some extra numbers, context, thoughts on Lighter's news on spot.
Nice. Got the Dubai rug with 5 minutes left to go in my segment kicking in. Yeah, so you covered a lot of the stuff. You mentioned Vlad Tenev, who's the founder of Robinhood. He's actually a friend from high school of the founder of Hyperliquid. So like they know each other. There's like a few other connections. Oh yeah, sorry. Lighter. Yes, correct.
Whose name is also Vlad.
You know, I was going to say it, but I thought I was misremembering it. So that's good that you actually corroborate that. So yeah, I mean, Lighter is obviously the thing that's actually the thing is that the perp protocol that is gaining traction in the last 6 months, years plus. As an Ethereum L2, it's got some novel stuff like being able to access your liquidity on Ethereum to actually just trade on Lighter itself, which is interesting. It's pumping some TPS numbers for the L2 that everyone's kind of flexing. The interesting numbers that I wanted to call out was just looking at just the perp volumes and open interest broadly for the ecosystem, and then just the comparative between all of the different chains and protocols that are live. And frankly, perp volume has been going through the roof in the last 2 months. I mean, obviously we've had some liquidation cascades within there, so like TBD on if this is a sustainable thing, but we've had all-time highs. Both in the first October is the highs that I've seen with $1.37 trillion in total volume. And then it was 1.31 the following month. So that was in November in total perp volume, and which is doubled, frankly, from September and August, which both were around $700 billion in total volume. So the perp sector is frankly thriving. And so that was volumes. I would say that open interest is the same. It's been up only, kind of blew up, as we know, on 1010, and it's been leveling off since then. The thing that's interesting between the different protocols, though, is Lighter and, or I would say not Lighter, but the relinquishment of Hyperliquid's position, which was as dominant as roughly 97% of all perp volume across the industry, as far back as, when was this? This was back in, it was 93% in March, the end of March. There was basically no one else at that point in time, and now has gotten all the way down to roughly 50% of all perps volume. It's important to note that like it comes with growth, though, right? So although the market dominance for Hyperliquid has gone down, and you see roughly 20% market share by Lighter, both of them are increasing because overall perps as a vehicle is continuing to just explode. So I would consider, I believe that's to be true. Like we were talking about this 3 months ago, 2 months ago. It's hard to remember what I was doing the trading arc, but like I felt like perps were just a better vehicle. I know a lot of people believe that these will be adopted by TradFi in place of options and just retail broadly, because it is a more digestible vehicle for obtaining leverage and frankly gambling, which everyone loves these days. So I would not expect the overall volume and adoption to slow for these vehicles. And even though Hyperliquid is losing dominance, it is still increasing month over month with raw volume because everyone is starting to do this more and more.
Really, really good points. I think also when you see, it's almost like they've hit escape velocity, because they don't even need to necessarily always attract people to the product anymore, because other people know that the product's good and just want to integrate, because this is so hard to build yourself. So, for example, now it seems like it is the case that Infinex, for example, they've got a bunch of other products. It's a wallet that you can kind of or an account where you can put all your different money from different chains. You can do cross chain swaps and stuff. So it's pretty useful for that. But it looks like their main way of making money now is to push the Perps product, which is just built on top of Hyperliquid. Like, so that is the way that they're going to try to make money. So Hyperliquid don't even need to do anything there. They're just going to make money from there. And obviously Infinex takes their cut. But what a beautiful model or beautiful product to have built, where once you can establish that trust that you are going to trade well, other people will want to integrate you because they realize the product market fit of this specific product. And so I think that's why it makes so much sense. Okay, fine, someone's market share might go down, but the market just keeps expanding because MetaMask is going to integrate. The Rabby wallet started integrating, Phantom wallet started integrating, Infinex started integrating. So, all of these things are just doing volume for them that maybe would not have, maybe they would have done it on Hyperliquid anyway, but maybe now it's reached some newer people because the Hyperliquid UX is too complicated, and now they prefer to go that way. And I'm sure the lighter Robinhood connection will have some big impact at some point soon as well. So good thoughts there. I think that's going to be an incredibly valuable token. It will be valuable. I think the airdrop will be valuable. The thing that I'm always concerned with, people who followed me on my airdrop strategies over the years, given that I've done relatively well from them, is I don't like risking loads of capital directionally. Like, I don't mind putting a lot of money into a protocol, and technically that's taking on some smart contract risk, but I don't like trading with it all so that you might lose it all and then hopefully get the money back. And it's kind of why I haven't really taken the plunge with prediction markets. I view these two things in the same way. Perps, I think, is better because I think that there's more skill involved, and then there could be some skill in prediction markets as well. But it's definitely moving down the scale on gambling when it comes to airdrop farming. Like, there used to be things you could just deposit some capital, earn some points, and then get an airdrop. That used to be the case. Now it's like, okay, you got to risk this capital, and you might lose some or all of it, and then maybe you get it back with the airdrop, which should be valuable. So the risk level has definitely gone up, and that's the thing I'd be conscious of, as depending on your kind of skill level for this product. But I do think it's going to be valuable. So if you're decent at it and you can mitigate your losses, I think it'll be good. Okay, interesting conversation today, guys. That was a interesting chat. As always, we said it's Friday, so we're going to get to our Yeet partnership. We're going to get to the point where we are giving away $500 to someone on our affiliate link. As always, we have $500 to give someone who signed up under our affiliate link. I put the link in the comments. We're going to look at today's board if it loads up successfully. At the moment, it's up there, but when I did have it up earlier and saw some of the names, we had Funky registering 50K. We had J Miles up there again. We had a couple of others registering thousands of dollars of volume. Here we go. We got Atari God right up there. J-Lo up again. Pretty high. Phonics back in the game. Super Saiyan. We've got a number of people participating. So let's get to it. Let's get to the giveaway today. As always, we do this in a way where we weight it randomly. We obviously weight it slightly more in favor of the people who do the majority of the volume. So I'm going to share my screen this time, Max, so we can switch over to try to get this wheel up. We do not have the branded modern market wheel today because I am a wheel of names pleb and don't know. Well, I do know how to do it, but I didn't have time to do that today. So we're back to the traditional wheel of names. I'm showing that on my screen, Max. If we can get that one up, we can switch it over if possible. Or if we can't, maybe I'll oh, there we go. Is it up? It is up. Here we go. So we've got it up here. let's spin and see who the winner is. Ooh, got a bit of sound effect today as well. Today we have between J Miles and Funky. It is J Miles again with the maybe third or fourth victory. J Miles last week said if he won last week, he was going to give his win to Funky Bread. What do you think about that? That was last week though. I don't know if that offer is still out there. What do you think of that?
Is that
communal
because of a
spirit?
funky snub?
It's because Funky's keeps doing the most volumes, not getting the W. Everyone else is getting it, but what do you think of that communal spirit?
I mean, it is some communal spirit. I love the energy. I know, like, doesn't transfer week over week, but you know, the energy does. The you know.
That's the thing. It may not transfer. We don't know. We don't know if it transfers, guys. So at the moment, congrats to J Miles. As usual, you don't have to do anything. We'll deal with that. The $500 will be in your account for you to gamble responsibly. And maybe it will go to Funky. I'm not sure. We'll find out. But guys, just a reminder, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, live on X Video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple and Spotify. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you to Bread for co-hosting with me. Thank you to Funky for being up with us up top. Thank you to our partners, Yeet, for sponsoring today's show. We'll get $500 across to the winner before the end of the weekend. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being with us. Have a great one. Take care. We'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.